Good evening. Welcome to the Top 25 Rundown presented by the Sportscast. It is November 29, 2023. If you haven't yet, please subscribe on all your channels: YouTube, Twitter, Twitch.tv, and Apple Podcasts. If you are on Apple Podcasts, please leave a rating review to help us out tremendously. We are also on DAB Digital Radio. You can listen to us on your smart speaker, play Sportscast. Visit us on the sportscast.net. Also follow us on Twitter, the Sportscast1. Check out our app, the Sportscast, the iOS App Store. Hello, my name is Alan West. Welcome to the Top 25 Rundown. Mm, hmm. Well, another week has passed, and we played, an unfortunate third year in a row, 30-24 to the school up North Michigan, and it was a good game, except that Tom McCourt threw two interceptions that cost us the game. And then we had the touchdown that counted for Michigan in the end zone where Denzel Burkhead stripped him, and according to the replay, the officials said that they did not. Submission got touchdown there. We were looking up to where we had caught the ball, fumbled, and then Buka had recovered the fumble, and then they also missed a field goal. So between a few of those things, unfortunately, we lost, but it's still a good game, and there's hope for next year. But we need to win that game, and I'm wondering what that's going to do for Ryan Day, how much wiggle room he's going to have left, or if they're going to want to see about maybe sometime sooner than later, Brian Hartline takes over. Later on, I should have guest or two on here, and we're going to see what happens with that. I know that Bob will definitely want to talk about Virginia Tech, and I was watching that game talking with a friend of mine, and apparently the UVA quarterback had decided to make a comment after the last game that, well, Virginia Tech wasn't that good. And unfortunately, when he made that comment, the players at Virginia Tech heard that and they had bulletin board material. And so, good evening, sir. We are live. How are you? Cannot hear you.
How about now?
That's better. Yes, I can hear you now.
Technology. What a wonderful thing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, as you were coming on, I was just talking about how Virginia Tech blasted Virginia. It was a very close game for all of a minute or two.
Yeah. Not the result the Cavaliers wanted, but we know the sprinklers work.
That is true. That's pretty funny. Yeah, when Virginia Tech wanted the team picture, UVA decided to turn on the sprinklers for them. Very kind of them. But the problem was the UVA quarterback, the week before they played Tech, in an interview or a post-game press conference, he actually said Virginia Tech isn't that good, and we're going to beat them and show them that we're the best team in Virginia. So
Okay.
that's what's called bulletin board material, and unfortunately, Virginia Tech's not a team we really want to do that. I was talking with a friend of mine who had played football at Tech when Michael Vick was there, and he was like, "Yeah, that guy really should not have said that." And he showed me a meme that brought up The Last Dance and how Michael Jordan said,
We took that
let's see,
personal.
yes,
Yeah.
and they did. They took that very personally, and they smacked him around.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna, I think it's gonna take time for both schools to get back to where they want to get to.
Hmm.
But yeah, probably not a good thing for the University of Virginia to smack talk anyone at this moment. I don't care if it's Virginia
Yeah,
Tech or anybody.
that's true. The thing that was funny about it, though, was did you watch the game?
I did not get to see any of the game.
Well, let's just say that the defensive line, well, when they had their chance to make their take their licks on every UVA quarterback, they made sure that he understood a few hits extra that it's like you shouldn't have said that about us.
Yeah.
That they thanked him repeatedly and profusely, many times.
Yeah,
By
like
the
I
end,
said,
he
it's going to
wasn't
take
happy.
time. It's going to take time for the Cavaliers and the Hokies, for that matter, because I don't think Virginia Tech is where they want to be either right now. So it's going to take time for them both to get back to where they want to be.
That is true. And well, I also mentioned right at the beginning, my Buckeyes did lose
Yeah,
that
they did.
game. Yep. Did you watch that game at all?
Did not.
There were a few controversial plays in that game, and that and the quarterback throwing two interceptions. But overall, it was a very good game, a very close game. So I wanted a better outcome, but you don't always get what you want, unfortunately. Just like this week, I was going to see about our friend of the show, Tyler Turner, coming on, just because, well, he was going to have a lot of comments regarding what had happened. Unfortunately, this week he got sick, so he couldn't be on. So, Tyler, hope you feel better, bud, and we look forward to having you on again very soon. So, because what I was going to have us do today, Bob, is I was going to have us try to go through the different coaches and pick who we thought was okay and who we thought wasn't as the coaching carousel is going on. And well, Tyler would be enjoying that just a little bit too much.
Oh yeah, yeah. We get a kick out of it, I think, for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, there have already been a few coaches that have got new jobs, and the one that you were very persistent about, the Texas A&M job. Unfortunately, they did not get Dan Lanning, but
I
they did
prefer the
get Mike
term
Elko.
passionate. I prefer the term passionate, but yes,
You know what?
persistent would
I'll
work.
take that. I'll take that. I will take that for passionate. You were very passionate about those picks, and for Dan Lanning to become the coach.
Well, I really thought the Texas A&M job would last. I thought that we would still be talking about who would be getting the Texas A&M job. I didn't think it would go as quick as it did, and it went kind of quick. I don't want to say they have to settle for Mike Elko, but I think that they didn't really get into, and and all jokes aside, I mean, even if Dan Lanning was the guy I thought that would go after it and get it, but I also thought they could kind of look at some bigger names, because at first it became Mark Stoops was not going to take it.
Mhm.
Then it became Mike Elko was going to take it. So they really didn't get into what I would call a coaching hunt, at least out front. Now, they could have done it behind closed doors, but it didn't really get, I don't want to say it didn't really get there out front. So it almost is like, I don't want to say they settled, but it's almost like they just did it so quick.
True, but I mean, you also saw that Jonathan Smith left Oregon State to become the head coach over at Michigan State. So, I mean, we'll see how that goes. But that and I know Hogerson got fired at Houston, and apparently, as long as he doesn't take another coaching job, he can just sit and wait and enjoy the $14.8 million buyout.
I would enjoy it.
So would I. So would I. I mean, I can picture him waiting to make sure that buyout's taken care of, then getting a job afterwards, and you can't blame him.
Right. Now, is that just any job or is this a head coaching job?
I believe it's a head coaching job, is what I had read.
Because if that's the
And
case, then it's almost like he could go be a coordinator or an assistant if he wanted to, or he could go the TV route.
yeah, that, and then you saw that Duke's quarterback Riley Leonard entered the transfer portal as well.
It seems like everybody enters the transfer portal though, so
That's true. I mean, see that, and they talked about Max Johnson's going to North Carolina, Batter's going to the NFL. Although the thing that I found the most interesting right now, Bobby Petrino,
Yep.
he is going back to Arkansas. I mean, the way that he left Arkansas, I would not think that he would be the one that you would want to get near at all.
For any job, not just
Yeah,
Arkansas, but any I don't even know if I'd want him managing Target.
I know I wouldn't want to. And for Holgerson, his contract indicates a mitigation clause that could lower the amounts if Holgerson gets another job.
Okay.
So we'll see about that. And tonight, at Vanderbilt, offensive coordinator Joey Lynch is out, and head coach Clark Lee will take over defensive play calls for Vanderbilt next year. Nick Howell, who was the D coordinator, is now going to be the defensive backs coach alongside Jamal Richardson, who was a defensive quality control coach who's been promoted. And apparently, the team's defensive back coach the past 2 seasons is going to be an off-field role. That and then Hugh Jackson got fired from Grambling, so we're only seeing the beginning of who's getting fired. So
Oh yeah, I mean, it's going to go on and on. Then you're going to have a season two to where you're going to have people that are going to be declaring for the NFL draft early, the transfer
mhm.
portal. I mean, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to, for lack of a better term, get going.
Well, did you read that Ohio State lost to commit today from they went from them to Miami? But did you read Riley Leonard's goodbye Instagram post?
I did not. I knew he was transferring, but I didn't hear anything other than that.
What it was, he put an Instagram post together about how he would go fishing at Duke and how he was thanked all his teammates, the players, the coaches, the fans. And let me see if I can find it because this is on ESPN. How they had the thing for it. Now this is the last page for his Instagram story that he wrote. Okay, it says I found out recently that a few years ago my favorite fishing spot at Duke was nothing more than an overgrown drainage ditch. Duke turned that part of campus into something better, something that I'll continue to grow and give back. But I like to believe it's the same for me. I hope I leave this special place better than I found it. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's kind of like the what turned water into wine, but still, it's kind of like it almost feels somewhat of an insult. I'm not saying it is, but it kind of feels like just a tiny bit, at least to me. I don't know how you feel about that.
I mean, it's the fact of Riley Leonard did a lot more good for Duke. I mean, did he, I don't want to use the term, did he use Duke? I mean, I hate when people talk about the fact of, well, XYZ player is not loyal because guess what? If XYZ coach or player is not producing, the school's not going to be as loyal to them either. So I kind of think that stuff is a little bit of rubbish and hogwash. But, I mean, Riley Leonard did good stuff for Duke. I wish him well. I think he should wish um, everybody, I think, just needs to go make a clean break. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I did see also that Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina, he did enter the transfer portal again, and this time he is
Again.
going to go.
Yeah,
Yes,
again.
last time he stayed with the Chanticleers. This time, I do not believe he's going to do the same thing. That then Matt Rule talked about how if you want a good quarterback with how the NIL is now, he said that they cost $1 or $2 million.
I mean, good
He's not
quarterbacks ain't
wrong.
cheap.
He is not wrong, and with how the NIL doesn't, how the NCAA does a horrible job at trying to manage things, it's going to get better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Even though now they're trying to ask Congress for help, but like they said, it's been the 10th time that they've been there in the past year and a half, 2 years. Are you watching the Duke game, sir?
I am not. I just actually got home because I had a basketball game and I'm trying to catch up on life.
Okay. Life kind of helps a little bit, so yes, I understand about that. Right now, I just saw that Duke is playing Arkansas. They started their game late because North Carolina and Tennessee ran long. North Carolina pulled out the win. It was, I believe, 192
Yep.
against Tennessee. And right now, Duke is down by down by three with 13 minutes left to go in the second half.
Well,
So we'll
I
see
am
how they
going to
do
turn
against
it on,
Arkansas.
so we'll see what we can do.
Exactly. And well, let's go over some of our picks from last week.
Yeah, according to the thing, the picks are over, but I thought we had one more week.
Yeah, I thought we had one more week, is what we had talked about. Let's see. So last week, me and Tyler tied because we had Kentucky against Louisville. Kentucky won 38-31. I was the one who got that. Then we had Michigan against Ohio State. You got that. Then we had Texas A&M and LSU. We both got that. Then we had Colorado against Utah. We all got that. Then we had Tech against UVA. I got that one.
Yeah, I didn't get that one.
Yeah. Then we all picked Bama against Auburn in that game.
Madness.
How under a minute it went from Bama or Auburn having a 99% chance to win and under a minute losing by three. That was a crazy game. Then we had Oklahoma State going against BYU. Oklahoma State won 40-34. I'm okay with not getting the points since they did win. That's okay. Then we had Arizona going against Arizona State. We all picked Arizona because we figured that was going to work out. And then we had Washington going against Washington State. Washington won 24-21. So me and Tyler picked the cover. We got that. Then we had Florida going against Florida State. Florida State won 24-15. You got that one. Then we had Kansas going against Cincinnati. We got that for Kansas. Then we had Georgia going against Georgia Tech. And I picked that Georgia Tech would cover. And so I got that one. We had Clemson going against South Carolina. Clemson beat South Carolina 16-7. You got that. Our big upset of the week besides Alabama was Iowa State and Kansas State, where Iowa State won 42-35. And then we had North Carolina going to North Carolina State, and North Carolina State won 39-20. So we have Tyler in the lead with 95. You're in second place with 91. I have 85. Santiago has 83.
Yep. So we all end there.
Yeah, surprisingly. But you know what? We had fun.
It
And
was fun.
Tyler
I
now is
mean,
the champion.
you can look at games for this week. Uh, I was a little surprised at Oregon laying 9.5 to Washington in the Pac-12 title game.
Yeah,
That kind of
I'm actually
surprised
looking
me
at that right now.
a little bit. It's in Vegas. Liberty's laying 11 to New Mexico State. And I'm looking at the app, the score, by the way. So that's where I'm getting my lines. Texas laying 15.5 to Oklahoma State on Saturday. Georgia laying
Hmm.
5.5 at against Bama in the
Hmm.
SEC title game. Tulane laying 3.5 to SMU in the AAC. Florida
Hmm.
State only laying 2.5 to Louisville in the ACC. And Michigan laying 21.5 to Iowa. And the over-under is 35.5.
Yeah, there are so many storylines all through this week.
This is the one week where I would actually take the over in the Michigan Iowa game because I think Michigan will help that cover that over themselves. But I could be wrong.
I agree with you. That, and I heard a funny stat today. Do you remember how Kirk Ferentz' son
Yep.
was said he had to average 25 points a game to keep his job? Do you know how many points he needs to keep his job in this game? How many points he needs to score to get to the magic number?
25?
109.
Wow. Something tells me they won't be getting 109 on Saturday.
I will be surprised if they get more than 14, if that.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
you
mean, I
never know.
know
I mean, they
Iowa
should be
has a strong
played.
defense, but I
Yep.
don't trust them
Yep.
because their offense has been suspect all year. That's how it seemed to me. So,
And I still think Michigan needs a little bit of a statement in this game.
oh,
Um,
100%.
so we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I think your playoff your bowl games are all going to be decided on Sunday. I don't see. I'll be honest with you. I don't see the top four drastically changing. Right now, you've got Georgia at the one. I want to
Mm-hmm.
say you've got Michigan at the two.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the three is
Washington 3.
Washington and then Florida State.
Yep.
So I don't know that I see it changing drastically. I could see Florida State getting beat by Louisville and then they go out. Um, but yeah, I don't know honestly. I mean, I don't know how it'll look. Um, you know, I could see a couple upsets coming this weekend,
Yeah.
but I don't in the grand scheme. I don't know how the playoff will be affected.
Well, here's the thing. There are 7 out of 8 teams playing this weekend. The one
Right.
team that isn't, unfortunately, is my Buckeyes. So we had the same situation last year. They made it last year. I'm not going to say history repeats itself. I would like to see that, but I'm not naive enough to assume that that'll happen just because remember last year how during the Big Ten championship game, they had Nick Saban on to try to lobby Alabama to get in the game.
Right.
So would I like to see Ohio State in there? Of course. Do I think they're going to make it now? I'm not sure. And I'd love for them to make it, but
I think it'll be hard.
I think it's gonna be really hard for them to make it. It will keep options open. Excuse me, but I'm waiting to see how the games turn out. Like we talked about before, the Sportscast is partnered with a betting app, so if you do want to make your picks, you're more than welcome to, and you can click on our site and see about them. Me and Bob were just making our picks just for ourselves. So if
Two
you do
guys having
decide to do that,
two guys having fun.
exactly. I mean, I still owe Tyler the 20 for Oregon, which I'm going to pay up to him another time. But besides that, we just do this so that we can make sure you know the different odds and who we think will win. I mean, we're not going to say it's going to happen completely, but we can hope
Right.
for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna, the play. It should be a fun weekend of
Hmm.
college football. I mean, I think you may know quite a bit going into Saturday after Friday because that Washington Oregon game. I mean,
Yep,
essentially that's an elimination game because whoever wins
absolutely.
that game is probably in. Whoever loses that game, probably not. Um, you know, I think Louisville could beat Florida State. I think the Liberty game, by the way, on Friday night is going to be interesting. Playing New
Yeah.
Mexico State. I think Liberty wins, but I think it's going to be close, closer than the spread indicates, to be honest with you. But Liberty's going to need some help because they would need Tulane to get beat and SMU not hop in there over Liberty. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Flames are going to be very interested on Sunday. Are they going to go to a New Year's Six, or are they going to go somewhere like New Orleans or Mississippi or Charlotte to play in their bowl game? You don't know. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I don't know if Ohio State gets in, but I don't think it's impossible.
Yeah, and we'll see. It's just I'm looking forward to seeing how the games turn out. That's the main thing. I'm not going to watch most of them, but the ones I will get to watch, I'll keep track of, and the ones I won't get to watch, I'll still be able to monitor on TV. So,
But here's the thing. Let's
mhm,
say so you're saying whoever wins Washington Oregon gets in.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so that's one. If Michigan loses, they're probably out, in your opinion?
I would say, yeah, I'd say they're out.
Okay. So Alabama and Georgia. Let's say Alabama wins.
I really can't see Georgia being out. I see Georgia maybe falling to number 4, though.
Right. Okay. So you've got Alabama and Georgia in, and you've got Washington or Oregon in. Florida State loses to Louisville.
They're gone.
Okay. So you've got three teams in. So then who do you put in that fourth slot? And I would say, big upsets here.
I would, I really think that the winner of Washington and Oregon, depending on how that goes, I can see them getting in. I
Right.
still think Ohio State has a chance of getting in, honestly.
What if Texas wins big over Oklahoma State? Texas hops Ohio State or no?
If Alabama beats Georgia, possibly.
Because I mean, if Georgia and Michigan both lose, Washington beats Oregon. Washington could hop up to number one.
Yeah, they could.
Then Florida State loses. You've got Alabama probably at what, three, two?
Probably.
So which one, three or two?
I would say 3, because I
So
think
you've
they
got
put Ohio State too.
so you've got Washington, Ohio State, Alabama, and Georgia.
Yeah.
And we're saying Texas rolls over Oklahoma State, but you still don't think that matters.
No, I think that unfortunately, when you look at what the coaches have made their choices on, and what the playoff committee's done, the playoff committee has shown that there's more SEC bias because when they were asked yesterday to try to talk about how some of the hypotheticals for how they were making their picks, they straight up said, whoever is making the pick, they'll make it however they want. It doesn't matter. We're not going to go as a group. They'll make the pick, then we'll figure it out from there.
I mean, I think you look at it this way: Texas beats Alabama, but loses to Oklahoma. Ohio State beat Penn State, correct?
Yes.
And lost to Michigan.
Yep.
So whose resume is better out of that part, Ohio State's or Texas?
I mean, I would say Texas, honestly, but I don't think the committee is going to want to take Ohio State out of the playoff if they can help it.
Well, they're not in the playoff right now, so they're not taking them
True,
out of
but
anything.
if they get back in there, it's going to be a lot harder for Texas to jump up over them.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because I think, we didn't even talk about, does Georgia get killed by Alabama? Does Michigan get killed by Iowa? Because I think margin does have a role in this. I mean, what if Michigan gets beat on a last second field goal? Can you realistically take Michigan out? I mean, I think Georgia is probably good either way. I mean, even if they lose to Alabama, like you said, I don't see Georgia slipping below 4.
Yeah.
Um, Washington beats Oregon and Michigan loses. Washington moves up to number 1. I don't think that you can look at it another way.
Yeah.
Unless Alabama beats Georgia on a field goal, maybe then Georgia stays number 1 in the playoff. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea, but you could be looking at Washington 1. I would say you could be looking at Washington 1, Bama 2, Texas 3, Georgia 4.
Okay.
But a lot of things have to happen. Honestly, I don't think that much is going to happen. If you ask me, what do I really think can happen? I think it's going to be I think it's going to be Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Washington 3, and I don't know who 4.
Hmm.
Maybe
I'd say that's fair.
maybe Texas.
We'll see. I mean, hey.
But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised with anything, honestly, because you can't keep Florida State out if they win. I mean, that's just a given.
Yeah.
I mean, so I mean, and in all honesty, it's not Florida State's fault that they're going to beat if they beat Louisville. I mean, it's not their
No,
fault.
not
What
at
is
all. But
Florida
I mean,
State? What has Florida State not done? I mean, they'll if they beat Louisville, they'll have run the table. What have they not
yeah,
done? I mean, even there's no one legitimate thing that you can use to keep them out, in my opinion.
Jordan Travis.
Still undefeated.
That's the one thing that they could try to use against him.
Yeah, I mean, you're
That he's
right.
not there anymore.
You're very right about that. But I mean,
Other
you've
than that, nothing.
you're going to have seen them play 2 games without Jordan Travis.
Yeah. I mean, like I said before,
Because the Florida
when
game was at Florida State, right?
no, I thought it was a swamp.
Okay, well, even better then. Even better for Florida State because now you've got a big road win on your resume too. I mean, if you're in your situation, I think you're pulling for Louisville, no doubt, 100%.
Yeah.
100% you're pulling for Louisville. Other than that, I don't know that you're pulling for many upsets.
No, I hear you.
But if you're a team like Texas, you're just pulling for flat out chaos.
Yeah, of course.
The only team I think that can still get in with losing is Georgia.
I believe that. I agree with you on that. And
So
I mean, it's going to be interesting that, and possibly, Bob, we may have a surprise guest to help us with this. I'm waiting to see. I've been doing a little research, checking on a few things.
okay,
I have another person who may come on and may have not only another point of view, but he may be able to help us spread a little light for a few topics. So I'm seeing what happens. I got a few more minutes before we end the show, anyways. So because this is going to be something. Well, let's go ahead and make our picks for the conference champions.
okay. Do I need to write them down?
You can if you want.
All right. Are we going just winners or spread?
Uh, well, you know what? Might as well challenge ourselves to this
Okay.
last one before we get to the bowls. So,
Yeah, I really think we need to somehow do kind of a bowl pick 'em type thing.
I, I mean, that's why I talked to Tyler about it as well because I think that
Right.
we would have a lot of fun doing that.
Okay. I'm
So I
ready.
think we should definitely do that. I'm gonna say Liberty, and I'll take the points. I'll go on the wild side. I'll take the points.
So you're taking Liberty.
I'm taking Liberty in the points.
Okay. I'm taking New Mexico State to cover, but
Okay.
not to win.
All right.
Now we're going on 11, right? Minus 11.
Yes.
Okay. Washington and Oregon. Oregon minus 9.5.
I'm gonna take Washington,
Yes, me too.
cover and win.
Yep, exactly what I'm doing. Oklahoma State and Texas. Texas minus 15.5.
I'm gonna take Oklahoma State to at least cover.
Okay. I'm gonna take Texas. I think the only shot Texas has is to make a big statement.
Okay.
Georgia, Alabama. Georgia 5.5.
This is a tough one.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first on this one.
I'm gonna take Bama.
Okay. You rolled Tide all year, so I'm not surprised.
Mm. I didn't say I'm gonna take them to win. I just said I'm gonna take them to cover. But if they won, I wouldn't be shocked.
I'm gonna take Georgia. You know what?
I'm taking
Man,
Georgia a lot too, though.
yeah. See, I'm
And
gonna take I'm gonna take them just because you know what? Until they lose, they're still the two-time defending champions.
the times where I didn't take Georgia, I felt bad about it.
Yeah.
Tulane minus 3.5 against SMU. That game is in Yeoman Stadium in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm
So
gonna
it's
take
basically
Tulane.
gonna be a home game.
Yeah, I'm taking Tulane.
I'll take SMU.
Okay. Florida State in Louisville. Florida State minus 2.5. I'm gonna take the Seminoles.
I believe I am too. Just
Okay.
because, well, if they win, they're in, and you know what? As much as I would be an Ohio State homer wanting them to be in the playoff, they didn't get it done. So you know what? They can play in a New Year's Six bowl game, which won't be as intriguing for them this year. But you know what? If you don't get it done, you got to play where you play.
I'm gonna take Michigan minus 21.5 against Iowa.
So I was not gonna. If Iowa scores that many points, I will be completely surprised.
Well, they don't need to score that many points. Michigan Dutch just doesn't need to win by 22.
The only thing we got to worry about is Iowa's defense, because Iowa's defense at times can come
Now
up
you're
on
waffling.
people and surprise them.
Now you're waffling. Are you taking Michigan or Iowa?
I'm still going to take Michigan,
All right.
but it's Iowa's defense I still worry about. I want to see how they can hold up against them.
21 and a half is a lot of points.
It is, but Michigan, they can score a lot of points.
21 and a half is a lot of points, though.
Yeah, but Blake Corum, when you get him in short yardage, he is one of the top running backs in the nation for scoring touchdowns in that area.
21 and a half is a lot of points, though.
Yeah,
And I'm all Michigan. I mean, whenever I heard the spread, I honestly think Michigan could cover and the under could hit. Very seldom do I think you have both those things because, I mean, if you're in my opinion, if I'm going to look at over unders, 90% of the time I'm probably going to take the over, just because
yeah.
the over under on this one, by the way, is 35 and a half. So Michigan wins 35-0, and the under still hits.
They're going to hit it. They're going to go over. It's not a question. I mean, even though Iowa's defense at times is stout, their offense is a joke.
I think Michigan wins, and I think the under hits. I
You
think
think the
Michigan
under
covers.
hits?
Yep.
Think
I
you're
think
playing
you're
with
looking at like
fire
a.
there, sir.
I think you're looking at like a 28-0 game.
I'm curious about that, but you know what? I'm not. Not sure. We'll see about that, but it just Michigan seems to rise up in big games. So I'm definitely gonna keep my fingers crossed in that respect. That and what did you think about the Washington State game from last week?
I didn't really get. I had been so out of the loop last week. I didn't really get to watch much of anything. And the game I did turn on, I fell asleep. So I'm not a good person to ask about things. Angel Reese is
Okay.
coming back though in women's college basketball for tomorrow. That's
Uh,
huge.
yep,
That's huge.
against Virginia Tech. So yeah,
Yep.
that's gonna be interesting. So what we'll do is we'll do a quick recap of top 25 from last week. Ole Miss beat Mississippi State 17-7 in the Egg Bowl.
And who said Mississippi State would cover?
Believe you did.
I did. And I was essentially laughed at. I even have it right here. Bob, Mississippi State plus 10.5. Turner, Ole Miss minus 10.5. Allen, Ole Miss minus 10.5. I can't hear the claps, but I can hear them in my head. Because we had 4 games that we took on the sheet last week. Nebraska and who'd they play last week? Did they play Iowa?
Nebraska played. Let's see.
Probably. If I
They
looked
played
in the right,
Iowa.
it would help.
Yep, they played Iowa.
And Nebraska was plus 2.5. I took Nebraska, which I missed on. You took Nebraska, which you missed on. Turner took Iowa, so he hit.
Yep.
Oregon State and Oregon. We all took Oregon State, and we all looked silly on that at 13.5.
Yep.
And then Liberty and
Oregon
UTEP.
won 31-7.
Liberty and UTEP, it was plus 16.5. It was a 14-point game. Bob picked UTEP. You other two chuckleheads picked Liberty. So I had 2 wins against 2 losses. Turner had 1 win against 3 losses. And Allen had 0 wins against 4 losses.
It happens.
But who won out of that?
Okay.
I'm just curious. I think Bob did.
I think you won for once, so congratulations.
I'm
It's not
happy.
always going to happen. I know. And Bob, we have a special guest coming on. He'll be on. He's coming in right now. We have Mr. Chris Caravello, which he had sent me a message earlier in the day asking if he could come on, and I know he's been a busy man, so I couldn't pass up the opportunity, especially with him being at the Washington State game last weekend, and I saw some of those pictures. I was a little jealous for you, sir.
Hey, it was a great
Glad you're able to come
experience.
on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I didn't want to have the season end, or at least the regular portion of it, without getting back on and talking to you guys. We had a good kickoff to the season, and I'm pretty sure if you go back and watch that show we did, you, me, and Tyler, I'm pretty sure I got this playoff thing locked up, man. I think I picked all four teams.
Possibly, we're gonna see what happens. And you know what? For me, if my Buckeyes don't make it, I can understand that. They couldn't get it done against Michigan, and hey, it was still a great game. I don't know if you saw the game or not.
We had it on at the tailgate, so I saw right up until probably the last gasp drive for Ohio State. But yeah, that was I don't know. I thought there was going to be a tall task for them to finally get over the hump with McCord at quarterback.
I mean, the thing that got me was the touchdown that Michigan scored, but Burke came up with the ball when he fumbled it. That was something that kind of got me. And also, I mean, you saw that the replay officials, once they saw it, anytime they had to do a replay like that, they would just stay with the most of the time they just stay with whatever play was called. I'm not saying that's wrong, but when a guy scores a touchdown but then throws the ball down and the defensive back gets the ball clearly, it seemed a little sketchy to me.
Well, I'm not thinking that you're going to get another shot to get into this thing like last year. I mean, a lot has to
Yeah,
shake right for the Buckeyes, and unfortunately, even sitting there at number six, uh, a lot has to break right for them.
exactly. And I mean, I don't know if it will, and you know what? That's okay. We made our bed, now we gotta sleep in it. And it's fair. But that being said, do you think Washington's going to cap off their perfect season this weekend against Oregon in the second matchup?
You know, there's been 6 straight weeks of drama for Husky fans. A lot of close games.
Hmm.
I think every game since the Oregon game has been pretty much a one possession affair. Late in the game, I think SC was the only team that we put away by more than 7 points. So it's been building up to this. Meanwhile, for the Ducks, they've killed everybody on their schedule. They're a team that, you know, when they get out in front of teams that they're clearly better than, they destroy them. So I think that's why the point spread is what it is. But you have to just trust at this point that this team and this coaching staff knows how to get it done, and especially against that team. Last year I think there was the same sense of dread going into the game, and that was at Autzen Stadium. And Washington, went blow for blow with them and pulled it out at the end. I think this is a better team than we had last year. And you don't win 19 games in a row on accident. So do I think we're going to win? Yeah, I do. I think we're going to make it a game, keep it close. And that's when the experience of having all these one score games comes into play. Oregon has not played anybody that has been able to punch back, except ironically, I think it was a week 2 game in Lubbock against Texas Tech. That's the only other game that's even been close. So it's not like this is immortal. This is not going up Georgia or Alabama at the end of a title run. Okay. No matter what Vegas says, no matter what the stupid recruiting rankings say, I don't care about any of that. Nobody should. I just am hoping for a good game with a chance to get them at the end, like the last two have gone.
Do you think the top four in
100%.
the playoff changes at this point?
Say it again.
Top four in the playoff, does it change at this point?
I hope it doesn't. I'd love to see 4 13-0 teams. And that's crazy because this is such a volatile sport. You never have seen this many undefeated teams,
Right.
that went undefeated in the regular season. I mean, I almost wish that we didn't have the conference championship games. Let's be honest, they were a cash grab. I think that some years, if it shakes right, you have one more chance to impress the committee and get in. But more often than not, you're left in these situations where, why would a team that went undefeated and beat every team on its schedule, have to play the same team twice,
Right.
or have a team get another crack at it. And last year, the criteria was completely different. I think it was a foregone conclusion for TCU and probably Georgia and Michigan that they were going to go to the playoff no matter what, even if they lost in the conference title game. Now you have 4 undefeated teams, and none of that's true. Yeah, I think if any of them lose, they're out of the playoff, which is crazy. So I'd love to see them all complete perfection.
You think if Georgia loses, they're out?
Let's
Freeze.
see. I think he did freeze for a second. Yeah. And I'm curious about that too.
It's a
So,
very happy face he has on there, though. Great.
no, let's see. Chris, okay, he'll be coming right back.
Okay. Because
So,
I kind of want to bounce the scenarios that I bounced off you real quick, just to know.
exactly. No, and I mean, Chris had messaged me earlier today if I would come on, if he could come on. I was like, of course.
Right.
And
Well, it doesn't look good for
well,
you, by the way.
here we go. Here we go.
So I got a
Yeah.
question. I got a question here now. You said you think that if the undefeated teams lose, they're probably out. Is that what I heard?
I think so.
Okay, I agree with
I
you
think
on Washington.
Georgia and Alabama. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just think that this first weekend is a playoff weekend, at least for the undefeateds. And then the Pac-12 game it's a play-in game. Whoever
Sure.
wins either of them,
Right.
the loser's not getting in, and the winner is. Michigan loses to Iowa. There's no way in hell they're getting in. Georgia against Alabama. I think for Georgia and Alabama to both make the playoff, you'd also have to have Texas, Florida State, and Oregon lose. That's the only way I could see them accommodating, 2 out of the 4 slots with Georgia and Alabama. But crazier things have happened.
Yeah, I mean, I see if Georgia loses to Bama, I see Georgia falling to maybe 4. Then Bama gets in, I think, in my opinion, they do, just because they're Bama. Washington, Oregon winner is still in. Then you got one. I don't know. I mean, it's weird. I'm trying to think it in my head, and maybe it's because I'm not putting it to paper. But I think Georgia gets in even with a loss. Michigan, I wonder about if they lose. Like, what if they got beat on a last second? I don't think it's going to happen. But what if they got beat on a last second field goal by Iowa or some crazy stuff like that?
they're over a 3 touchdown favorite.
Oh, I know. I'm aware.
I think the optics would be so bad from that they'd be in really big trouble. And
Right.
I think that there's also a scenario where Georgia and Alabama both don't get in. If the other undefeateds win and Texas wins, I think you go Michigan, Washington, Florida State, Texas, and then no SEC teams. As crazy as that sounds, a lot of people are going to bust out the tinfoil hats and say that ESPN would never do that to their beloved Southeastern Conference. I tend to agree, but I'm saying, how in the world would you leave out any of the undefeateds and then a team that beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa 10 points?
I
What
think
world
Texas
is
has to
that?
win big. I think Texas has to
I
win
think
big.
okay. I think that would. They're a team that could use the style points,
Right.
so they need a blowout over Oklahoma State.
I mean, I just see Georgia if they as long as they don't get absolutely embarrassed, I couldn't see them falling below 4. Just because I just couldn't. But you've said it. Stranger things have happened. So
Yeah, it just there's so many. I can't imagine a year where there was this many scenarios heading into the final week. There's
right.
it's so
Mhm.
many things depend on these other games. It's a lot of teams are hanging in the balance of games that they're not even playing. I mean, that's what makes the sport as entertaining as it is. I'm kind of sad that it's moving away from 4 teams because I just don't think we'll have this high stakes drama throughout the whole regular season and then going into the final weekend.
Can you crush Allen's dreams for me and tell him that there's no way Ohio State makes it at all?
I mean, I don't think it'll happen because in the scenarios that I just mentioned, you got teams moving up while
Right.
the Buckeyes are sitting at home. Like last year, there wasn't anybody I think that would have a quality enough win close enough to the top 4 that they could have jumped Ohio State. And this year, hell yeah, there is. There's plenty of those Final 4 out, Texas, Oregon, and Alabama, or either if any of those teams win, they're getting the nod over Ohio State. So, like I said, you'd have to have a scenario where like the right teams lost, and the right teams won.
Did you hear that, Allen? Ohio State's sitting at home no matter what.
Thank you, Professor Bob. I'm
You're
glad that
welcome.
you
I'll do what I
said
can.
that so you can feel better about yourself. But see, there's one thing that you forgot
I
about.
I don't.
7 out of teams are in. They're playing this weekend, so we'll see what happens after that. I mean,
Well,
if they don't make
the
it, it's okay. I mean, they screwed
unlike
themselves.
unlike last year, where I think a lot of Ohio State fans were, you know, just praying that it broke their way. This seems different. Just reading the room
It
on
does.
Twitter and the few Ohio State fans that I do interact with, through
Uh-huh.
video. Um, it seems like they're, you know, just disgusted with how this all happened in the first place. They lost to a
Yeah,
team that has beaten them 3 straight times without its head coach, with a ton of. They had some injuries, and they still. Well, they never trailed in that game, right? It was from the get go. Michigan seemingly had this in their grasp.
yep.
And I just think that Ohio State is ready to move on, at least with this season and with McCord at quarterback.
You
I
said the
mean,
few Ohio State fans you talked to, do you have a quota?
The amount of fans that I talk to,
From Ohio State.
or
Okay.
just the 3 that are on the radio with me
Okay.
on Saturdays. So
Gotcha.
yeah, and just like I said, I'm on Twitter way more than I should be, But this is a season where I can't seem to get enough college football, especially the banter between fan bases. And it just seems totally different than last year.
That's fair. And I mean, like I said, if we had done enough to win the game or won the game, it'd be a different story. But it didn't work. McCord threw the two interceptions, and I mean, this isn't as bad as when John Cooper was coach, but this is definitely uncomfortable being an Ohio State fan because when Cooper was the coach, they went 2-10-1. And so, like, I've told my daughter about that, and she'll laugh about that because she doesn't understand. But now that she's seen them lose 3 years in a row, she's getting a basic idea about that just because she had only seen them win the entire time she was starting to grow up. And so I'm just like, no, it's not always where they're going to win. I mean,
Yeah,
I hate that we lost, but the better team won. And I hate to say that, but when you look at what happened, you got to give credit where credit's due.
I don't think they're in, they're not going to fire him, Ryan Day, but I could see a scenario where he just says, to hell with this and goes to the NFL or, something like that. But, be careful what you wish for, the Buckeye fans that are calling for his head. Two different programs, but I'm sure Nebraska, still remembers how that turned out for them when they fire a guy for winning 10 games a year. I mean, and Ryan Day, what, it's been more than 10 games. He's made the playoffs
Hmm.
twice. Um, it's always
I
just
mean,
been
he's
de
a great coach,
facto
and he's
championship.
focused on mental health for the players too. I mean, he's done a lot, but it's just
Tell your
Ohio
daughter,
State has high expectations every
tell your
year.
daughter about that James Franklin guy. He can't beat either one of them at all.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
talk
have.
about being stuck in the mud.
Oh no, I've told her she's watched some of those games, so she knows about it. I mean, I had that 100 things to see or do for Ohio State fans, and she's read that book. I don't know how many times. So I mean, I have raised her to be a true Buckeye fan, just like well, Chris, you can relate because I saw the pictures for your daughter being at the game too. So I mean, seems like she's a pretty big
Oh, we
Washington
stormed the
fan. Is
field.
that fair to say?
She's been to more big college football games this year than me. She's been at a couple Florida State ones and then obviously the Apple Cup. So she seems to just pick the right ones to attend. And whenever she does go in person, the right team seem to win.
Nice, that's awesome. Yeah, no, Prago was gonna be on today, but unfortunately he got sick, so he couldn't come on. And I know if he was on, you two would be having a very lively discussion right now. So I mean, what
I'm
we'll do
sure
is
we
we'll
would.
just have to we'll probably have to try to get both of you on another time as well, just because that way you know that there's going to be after how this game ends, no matter what, you guys, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to go back and forth just with some of your picks. And I mean, once bowl season starts, maybe we will try to play. What we've been doing this year is we've been doing picks. We've been trying to look at the point spreads and figure out who's going to win, if they're going to cover, or if it's not going to work like that. Tyler actually just won for between me, Bob, him, and Santiago, and so I think that once we figure out bowl season, we can try to do that. And I mean, if you want to come on for that, you're more than welcome to. Or if say we figure out how the picks are and I send them to you, we can make sure that we get your picks for that as well. Just because I know that for you with how busy you are, I mean, I was surprised you messaged me today, but you already know if
Hey,
you're going
like
to send me a message, you already know what the answer is, sir. You know that by now.
Well, like I said, I wanted to get one more show in before Friday happened. Um, yeah, with my busy schedule, I think I've been on the road half the season. I've watched games from either a hotel or my phone. Um, but that's just the name of the game. I'll be in Virginia for my Navy duty on Friday. So, but
Oh,
we've won
okay.
all our games with me in uniform. It was the Oregon game the first time and the SC game. So another big one. Um, Luckily, it starts pretty late, so I should be off work in time to watch all of it.
Nice. That's great. That and yeah, since we had you on the last time, you had your giant run, the 250-mile run, and then I know that for besides your naval duties, I know you've had a few more runs that you're either doing or getting ready to do. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
I found out this past week I got into a 100 miler out in Hawaii in January, so I gotta get in shape for that. But no, I'm excited. Um, Gotta stay ready.
that's awesome. Congratulations for that. I mean, I'm not a runner, but I know Bob is at times, so I know that he can relate to you for that. I'm
I'm
gonna
temp-
try to work on
I'm
that. But
temporarily paused. I'm temporarily paused for about the last 2 years.
I mean,
Uh-oh.
I know. I mean, Chris, I guess you average about probably about 30 miles a week at least. Is
It
that fair to
depends on
say?
what I'm training for. It depends on what I'm training for. I went back and was doing some shorter stuff in the summer, running track and field again. But obviously, yeah, getting that email, got to crank up the mileage and the elevation too. I'll probably be on a stairmaster all weekend, because there aren't many mountains in Florida.
Now we understand about that, and I mean, we wish you the best of luck for those endeavors, and congratulations as well, because
Yeah,
that is huge, and I know that you're trying to balance that and everything with family as well. That's great to see. I mean, you see, I'm able to luckily see some of your stories and see about that, and just watching that, I'm a little jealous. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little jealous, but I mean, that's great for how you're able to accomplish that. I mean,
there's only 24 hours in a day, unfortunately. I wish there were a few more sometimes.
no, I hear you on that. I can agree about that. Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe for that game for Washington, Oregon, I believe we both picked Washington.
We did 9.5 is outrageous. That's the
Thank
bottom
you.
line.
Where do these people get off coming up with that kind of a point spread against a team that already won the first matchup and is undefeated? I don't know. I think they just try to separate fools from their money, which they successfully did in that Oregon State matchup that we were underdogs in. And hopefully we can do it again. In Vegas too. So you can just walk right from the stadium and go cash in if you're a Husky fan.
Right.
All right, so Chris, I got one big question now. Do you think the winner of Oregon and Washington for the quarterback is that going to be the winner of the Heisman Trophy this year?
If both of them play exceptional, if it's like the first matchup where you just went punch for punch and Penix had that insane two-play drive to win the game, yeah, I do. I think that kind of like this whole point spread thing, and there's so much going into the last week of the season that is
Mhm.
both exciting but also irritating as a alumnus and a fan. Like the Heisman voting opened this week. Why the hell are you voting on something that two of the candidates are still going to have a game to play against each other? Like, when does that ever happen? That's a very unique situation. And frankly, it pisses me off that the voting has already started. And we all know it, like, call it like it is. There's a SEC player that's in the running for this. Guess who the whole region of the South is going to vote for? It
Yep.
probably has already got this thing in the mail. Jaden Daniels, dude who couldn't hack it in the Pac-12. So I do hope that Friday, no matter who wins the game, I want it to live up to the billing. And I'm proud that every time Washington has been on prime time this year, it's been like the best game of the weekend. Like really exciting, high stakes. The drama is always there, and the Huskies have always pulled it out. So, like I said, I'm not saying that they're necessarily going to light up the scoreboard like they did in round one, because we just haven't been doing that the past 6 weeks. But I do want it to be, a chance for those two quarterbacks to showcase themselves, and and the winner come from that. The two dudes that pulled their team all the way to the finish line of this thing in the final Pac-12 game ever. Um, and my last point on it, like, I get it. He's Jaden Daniels has put up video game numbers, but he got his ass beat by Florida State. He got knocked out of the game against Alabama, and he had at least 5 shots into the end zone against Ole Miss, who, wow, real stout defense there, and he couldn't get it done. Where's the Heisman moments? Where's the highlight reel moment where it's like he did something that won a game for LSU? All I see is him running free against some garbage defenses. The worst Florida team in my lifetime is when this all really took flight, right? And he put up like 700 yards, whatever, against, like I said, that this is the worst I've ever seen the Gators. And you go down the list of the defenses in the SEC until you get to like Bama and A&M, and of course Georgia, who he didn't play against. Look at the measuring stick is for this thing. And like I said, play the highlight reel for all 3 of them. The only one who has the highlights that won games that actually, plays that mattered when they needed him the most is actually Michael Penix. That's the only one out of the 3 of them that had a play to come up with a game-winning touchdown. I think Daniels might have had one against Mizzou. I think they stormed back to win that game. But it's like, those are 2 teams that are sitting at home right now. The games where they actually had to have something in them to keep staying in the race for the SEC West or the college football playoff. All 0-3, buddy. 0-3.
Yeah, I mean, there's no argument there. And I think for the Heisman, if memory serves, wasn't the year that Barry Sanders won it? Didn't they have one more game to play, or was that the bowl game he played in before he won the Heisman?
I think it was the bowl.
Yeah, and they didn't even count bowl game stats back then
No.
for career numbers, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
But you're talking about like even back then it was apparent that guy was going to be one of the greatest, running backs of all time. It's like with Jaden Daniels, it's like when you're comparing him to other 3 lost quarterbacks, Robert Griffin III, Lamar Jackson. Okay. You want to put him in that realm? Go right ahead. But when I think of Lamar Jackson, I think of that epic game against Deshaun Watson and Clemson, where those 2 went back and forth. Where
Mm-hmm.
is the monumental? I mean, he played one game against another Heisman favorite, Jordan Travis, and he
Mm-hmm.
was clearly not the best QB on the field that night, and they got blown
Mm-hmm.
out. You had your
Yeah.
chances at this award to put your stamp on it and
Mm-hmm.
failed 3 times.
Yeah.
There's it's comparable when you just go down the numbers, but
Mm-hmm.
when you look at the game tape, it's not.
Yeah.
But like I said, he plays in a conference that unanimously they will jump on the bandwagon for no matter what the jersey says, which I've
Mm-hmm.
never understood. I absolutely hate the other Pac-12 teams. I would never root for them to win out. And from a Florida State standpoint, same thing. Clemson, I would never be caught dead rooting for these other teams. But like I said, in that conference, like I said, as soon as he took off and became one of the Heisman finalists, I was like, there we go. It's not going to matter. You're going to have a whole
Yeah,
region that votes for him.
we'll see. We'll see. But two things. Actually, three things. Arkansas just upset Duke, but this year, Florida State or Arkansas beat Florida at the Swamp for the first time ever. That had
Hilarious.
never happened before. I mean, I saw that. I thought that was definitely hilarious. And then, because it's something that you look at and you're like, seriously, how can you lose to Arkansas in the Swamp? Arkansas had never won in the Swamp, I think, in 8 tries. But when Barry Sanders was a college player, they always, I guess, him and Thurman Thomas both went to Oklahoma State at the same time.
Right.
There was a story where the coaches say, you make sure Thurman Thomas doesn't get hurt because we don't want to play Barry Sanders. You make sure Thurman Thomas is able to keep playing. College coaches would say that because they I guess knew about Barry and like, yeah, we don't want to deal with him. We'd rather deal with Thurman Thomas every day. So that
Well,
was one thing I had heard about. But I mean, just I don't really feel like this year some of the Heisman voters, the way it's going to be. If it is Daniel, so be it. But I really think that I could be biased and say Marvin Harrison Jr. deserves to go there. But honestly, I think it's between Penix and Bo. I really do because just with how they both have stepped up. I mean, yeah, I've seen that like Penix, you've seen him on prime time, whereas Bo was able to get like I guess the game 2 weeks ago. He had like 5 or 6 touchdowns in the first half.
yeah, against Arizona
So
State.
I mean, it just yeah. So I mean, it just I'm waiting to see how that goes because if they don't get it, it'll be a shame. But I think that this game this weekend is going to be the slugfest that we all. I'm looking forward to it honestly. I mean, because how the first game was. First game seemed like it was an instant classic, almost for game of the year, really.
I
I
think it
mean,
was
there have
the
been a
game
few
of the
games.
year. I know I'm biased, but I think that was the game of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I think Alabama and Auburn fans may have a few words to say about that, but I mean, with how the season started, like you had Ohio State against Notre Dame, that was a really good game. But I mean, this game, being biased, that's not a bad thing because I was watching that game and just how it was back and forth the entire time. I mean, when Washington was down and you literally went 75 yards in I think 3 or 4 plays. It culminated with like it was a 40 or 50 yard gain in a reception, and then it was like a 20 or 30 yard touchdown pass.
Yeah, it was a
I
two
think they
play drive.
ran one drive. So I mean, it just I hope Washington makes the playoff. I'm just kind of curious to see how it's going to go, just because I mean, this game is definitely the second playoff game that we've had because Ohio State Michigan was the first playoff playing game.
Agreed.
And I think this one's going to be the one that's going to be the toughest one because of their rankings. I mean, even though you got Georgia and Alabama, Alabama's on the outside looking in. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be a great one. And I know Bob's even excited about it, although I'd hope that at Allegiant Stadium, if they go for a team picture, I hope they're not going to turn on the sprinklers like UVA did to Tech after they lost. I'm not sure if you heard about that or not.
Who won that game?
Virginia Tech, big.
Tech
Nice.
beat him like a redheaded stepchild because the UVA quarterback the week before said the Tech's defense was garbage and the defensive tackles wouldn't be able to touch him. And well, the defensive tackles and the ends made him their son.
Wow.
I think
It's
the final
it's
score was 55-17.
been a very lopsided rivalry.
So it can be at times. Yeah, Tech's done really well in that respect, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, no, I definitely think that this weekend, Bob, which game do you think is going to be the top game of the weekend, honestly? I want your
Washington,
opinion for that.
Oregon. And I'm not just saying that because of our guests, but Washington, Oregon is the one game based on the way the first one went. That's the only game I want to see. If I had to pick a second pick, I'm taking Georgia and Bama.
I
Same.
mean, I'm not worried about Iowa and Michigan just because unless Iowa somehow is able to score 109 points, Kirk Ferentz's son is not going to keep his job. So you know what? I can't picture Iowa's offense scoring more than one or two touchdowns, if that. And I think honestly that's being generous.
Yeah.
Is there any other game? I know that you, like you said, for focusing on college football, are there any other games that you're looking forward to this weekend?
Well, like I said, I'm on duty, so I'm gonna miss the Big 12 one and probably what time is the Big 10 one on at the same time as the ACC? Is it a night
Yeah,
game?
it's
Yes.
8 o'clock,
Yep.
Okay, yeah,
8
that's
p.m.
I'll only miss the Big 12. F Florida State, I'm glad that they, got the backup his baptism by fire in the swamp.
Hmm.
That's a tough place to play, even though Florida is what it is this year. He got hit a lot. So going into the game against Louisville, I think they're going to really need to rely on the running game with Trey Benson, Lawrence Tofili, and figure out ways to get those wide receivers low risk passes out of Rodemaker. I think the point spreads like 2 points at this stage. So a lot of people are expecting Florida State to struggle, but I still think that they have enough talent all over the field. That's better. They're just a better team than Louisville. Despite the quarterback situation. So they just got to make a way for this to not be high risk for Rodemaker and keep him upright. Took some shots against the Gators. That can't happen again. That's a recipe for turnovers or him straight up getting knocked out of the game.
Well said, sir. Well said. Well, honestly, fellas, I think that's gonna probably about wrap it up for this time. But I think today, Chris, I'm gonna say something that you'll appreciate, sir. I think for this weekend, I'm going to pretend to be an adopted husky, which I would definitely not appreciate. But I mean, I respect how Washington's played, and I mean, I usually bet against Tyler as it is when they're playing at home, and that usually hasn't turned out well. So it's like, you know what? Might as well make that pick one more time. And the way the Huskies have looked, I am not afraid to trust Michael Penix in that respect. Because I mean, he's in some ways Washington. It kind of reminds me of the 2002 Ohio State team, how they would barely win, but they
The
got it done.
Buckeyes, yeah, Craig Krenzel. Uh,
Yes,
there's
sir.
look at yeah. I actually was thinking about that game earlier this week when I saw the point spread and just the firepower that they're up against. No one gave them the chance in hell against Miami, and look how
Hmm.
that turned out. It was not a lot of points scored. Um, you never know. College football is chaotic, unpredictable, And what I've found out is, in few rare exceptions, usually involving Nick Saban in Alabama or this version of Georgia, there is no sure thing. When you think it's guaranteed and foolproof, that's when college football rises up and surprises you. So, yeah, I guess the Huskies are going to have to shock the world um, in Las Vegas. But yeah, I'm rolling with the last Pac-12 game ever,
Yep.
and it's to
Yes,
go
sir.
to the playoff. So this is the highest stakes, and I'm proud of the team for getting here. 12-0. That's never been done either in the Pac-12. They're the
Hmm.
first and the last team to go undefeated in Pac-12 history through the conference slate. So, like I said, they didn't get here by accident. They found ways to win. And they found a lot of different ways to win. When Penix was whatever's been bothering him the last 6 weeks, other guys stepped up. That's what it's going to take,
Hmm.
full team effort. But I really hope the real Michael Penix puts on another show for us on Friday.
Well said, well said. And so if we were going to try to find you outside here, what would be the best way to get in touch with you on social
At
media?
Noel at Noel Core on every social media in existence. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of it.
Absolutely. And how about you, Bob? I know it's a little dangerous trying to get you on social media, but we'll take the
Always
risk.
go with the Sports Buffet, TheSports Buffet, Buffet, on our friendly thing called X, not Twitter, X.
I'm still not used to
Yeah.
saying that.
Neither am I.
Well, that's why I let you guys say it so I don't have to. I am on that also with Alan F. West, but I stay on Instagram and Facebook. I'm going to post at some point soon. It's been a little while. It's only been, what, 6 months since, I don't know, about 2 months since I made my last post on Instagram on Facebook. So I'm due for another one, and we'll see how that goes. But it'd be Allen.West.46. But Bob, Chris, thank you for your time, fellas, and we will see how the game goes. And then, Chris, once we figure out about the bowl season, we will get in touch to at least figure out the picks. But safe travels. Hope everything goes well. And this has been the Top 25 Rundown. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.